Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let me stop this share. Make sure I've got my screens correct here. Hello. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. My name is Shelby. I am your head of community and your host. And I'm really excited for what we have planned for you guys today. We have an all-star lineup with us today, and so I'm really excited to be introducing them. And let's get into everything. So first and foremost, of course, we've got Dr. David Spiegel, Stanford's Associate Chair of Psychiatry, and of course, Reveries co-founder. Hello, David. Thanks for being here today.
Hello. Good morning, Shelby. Good morning, everyone.
And I'm going to pause these notifications that are coming in. And next on the lineup, we've got a very, very special guest with us today, Danny Lee Clark, who is a former NFL player and one of the original American Gladiators, an author, speaker, screenwriter, coach, and so much more. Hey, Danny, how are you?
Fantastic, Shelby. Thanks for having me. Can you guys see me okay? My cameras are fluttering back and forth.
Yes, we can see you perfectly. You look great.
Now I'm blushing. Why, thank you very much.
We can see that too, Danny.
Yeah.
And besides, I think most of you guys know me if you've been on any Reverie community events before, but I'm also joined by the newest member from the Reverie team, who is our social media manager out in London, Pepe. How are you, Pepe?
Hey everyone, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to see how today goes.
Yes, me too. So Pepe is going to be supporting me on this call. As you can see, we've got a lot of people here from all over the world. And so if you haven't already seen it, I just want to draw your attention to the little chat icon that's at the bottom of your Zoom window. Go ahead and click on that and just have it open throughout today's session. I would really encourage you all to chat with each other in there and go ahead and ask questions in there if you have any. We've got a pretty packed agenda for you all today, so we're probably not going to be able to get into all those questions in detail today, but we are going to be reviewing everything that was in that chat after today's session. So we're going to make sure to post any questions and answers to them in our community forum afterwards, so you all can get the answers. And additionally, Pepe will be posting some questions for you all and some resources. So just pay attention to that throughout the session and feel free to chat away. And I see people are still saying where they're calling in from too. So that's great. Keep on letting us know where you're calling in from. We love to see that. Great. So I think without further ado, we're all excited to get into what we have planned today. Here we are talking about the science of hypnotizability and the 3 brain styles. So Reverie is the world's most trusted self-hypnosis app, largely due to its clinical basis. I think most of you know that Dr. Spiegel stands on a lifetime of clinical and research experience, helping thousands of people change their lives through self-hypnosis. People do this in a number of ways by, managing pain for surgery and other types of pain, relieving stress, improving sleep, and so much more. So what I'm going to do right now, because we have a lot of people who are not necessarily familiar with Reverie, I'm just really quickly going to put up a QR code on my screen. And so if you're on your desktop computer right now, you can just open your phone's camera and scan this QR code. It will enable you to download Reverie right now, and then you can check out everything that we're referring to in the app after today's session. Pepe is also going to drop a link to it in the chat too. So if you're on your phone, you can just click on the link in the chat and download Reverie and get access to the hypnotizability test and all the sessions that we're talking about today. Awesome. And now no one wants to keep looking at that, so I'll get rid of it. Great. So a lot of people wonder, does hypnosis work on everyone? That's one of the most common questions that we hear at Reverie. And so that's why we're hosting today's event, all about hypnotizability. Hypnotizability is, in fact, a real word, and it's our ability to make change in our life in response to hypnotic suggestions. Everyone has a hypnotizability, which reflects our own unique brain style. And David, I think you wanted to discuss a little bit about this.
Yes, thank you very much, Shelby. And I want to welcome you all. And I'm just delighted to see people from around the world interested in the phenomenon of hypnosis, which is the oldest Western conception of a psychotherapy. It's been around for 250 years. But people like Danny and I are working to help people better understand it and take advantage of it. So hypnotizability is an interesting thing. It's actually a very stable trait. Your hypnotizability when you're 21 is the same as it's going to be when you're 25 years older. It's as stable a trait as IQ. So how does that happen and what does it mean? Well, let's start in childhood because all 8-year-olds are in trances all of the time. As you know, if you called your 8-year-old in for dinner and they're playing with their friends and they don't hear you, work and play are all the same thing for children. And in a way, as a parent and grandparent, I feel kind of bad that we try to make children into little adults too early. Because at that period in life, their brains need to be filled up and they focus intently, they engage, they throw themselves into whatever it is they're trying to do, and they're in hypnotic-like states. What tends to happen to us as we mature, as we go through adolescence, we develop what the famous psychologist Piaget called formal operations. We begin to value logic over experience. So we appraise things before we accept them in a way that younger children don't do. And that's an advantage. We learn to think in formal ways, we think logically. But you know what? It can be a disadvantage too. So what happens is that natural tendency to absorb everything, and people who are very hypnotizable tend to get absorbed in movies or books. Think about whether you've had the experience of getting so caught up in a good movie or a novel that you forget that you're watching a movie or reading a novel and enter the imagined world. Hypnosis has been called believed in imagination. And what's wonderful about it is its intense focus. You're highly focused, like looking through the telephoto lens of a camera. What you see with great detail, but you're less aware of the context, the periphery. We call that dissociation. That's the second part of hypnosis, where you can just ignore things that you would ordinarily be aware of. For example, like the feelings in your body touching the chair you're sitting on now. Hopefully, you're not focusing on that at the moment. If you are, you're free to leave anytime. But instead, you're focusing on the center of attention. So there's absorption, dissociation, and the third thing is cognitive flexibility. One of the really cool things about hypnosis is that people can let go of their ordinary views of themselves, what they think they can do, what they think they're like, or what they think people think of them, and just try out being something different. So what happens as we mature is that the nature of our ability to learn and experience things is transformed by this imposition of logic and reason, which is a very important part of maturing. And people tend to emerge into one of three types. The first is what we're calling the researcher, the person who shifts to a predominantly investigative, cognitive, think about it rather than just accept it kind of experience, where logic is very important. And they can take on new information, but they do it in a very structured, observing way. They're researchers about almost everything they do. I had a patient very recently who was the researcher type who wanted to stop. She'd stopped smoking after 50 years of smoking and wanted help with hypnosis. And what helped her the most is my explaining to her to keep the focus on her relationship to her body, respect and protect your body. It's not whether you have an urge to smoke or not, it's your commitment to treat your body the way you would treat your child. And the interesting thing was she not only liked that, she had to write it down. And so it's the kind of thing where if you accept it logically, you then incorporate it. The second type is what we're calling the diplomat, the person who negotiates between these two different worlds. So as you have this part of your brain that has developed to value things and analyze things logically, you still have that part, more childlike part of experiencing things, just throwing yourself into it. And the diplomats go back and forth between the two. They think about it, and then they let themselves experience it. And it isn't one or the other, it's a shuttle between the two, which is what good diplomats do. They get different points of view and try and reconcile them. The third type is the type we call the poet, the person who just immerses themselves in the experience, who just feel it and don't worry about examining it or analyzing it. And so they can throw themselves into something, see things from a very different point of view, and just experience them. And they experience themselves as different. So I recently had a lovely woman who had come from another country that does not treat women very well and managed to get out, but had been depressed much of her life. And she had sadly been sexually assaulted when she was 12 years old, and nothing had been done to the assailant. And she remained somewhat depressed throughout her life. And I asked her in hypnosis to revisit that scene after she had been assaulted in that way. And I said, look at yourself as a little girl and ask yourself, was this her fault? Did she deserve this? And she started to cry, and she said in hypnosis, I'm smoking her hair. I'm stroking her hair. I'm stroking her hair. And she began to cry. And she came out of it and said, you know, this is not a way I've ever felt about myself before. And she called me a week later and said her psychiatrist wanted to know what I'd done to her because she wasn't depressed anymore. So she was someone who was able to just focus on a formative traumatic experience in her life and see it from a different point of view immediately. So the three types then are people who are either the researchers who continue to impose logic but can have these experiences, the diplomat, and then the poet. And all three can benefit from techniques involving hypnosis. It's a matter of how they benefit and how the techniques are offered to them. And that's what we try to do in Reverie, is to appeal to people's preferred way of taking in and changing in the face of new information.
Thank you, David. That was a wonderful. Sorry, was someone else speaking? No? Okay, we'll continue. That was a bit of an overview of the different profiles and hypnotizability. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Spiegel. And we're gonna go much deeper into all this stuff later. There's a question around if your hypnotizability profile can potentially indicate the type of career you would thrive in. I think it definitely has potential to, and we can go deeper into that at the end of today's session. We are really curious to hear from all of you if you have indeed already taken the hypnotizability test in the Reverie app. So I'm going to launch a poll. It's going to be 3 quick questions. It's just going to pop up on your screen right now. And you only need to answer 2 of them. Whether or not you already took the test is the first question. And if you did, what is the hypnotizability profile you got? If not, which profile do you think you are? I think following Dr. Spiegel's descriptions there of the different profiles, it is kind of interesting to guess, if you don't know yet, which one you are based on what you know about yourself. So I'll give you all a few moments to answer those polls. Wow, a lot of people have not taken the test yet. That's exciting. Lots of potential here. And those that have taken the test are, well, of course, they're pretty evenly distributed across the 3 types as predicted. You know, Dr. Spiegel is really the expert. He's done, you know, just tons of research on these different types, on hypnotizability. And so he's really the expert on the science of all of it. And I believe you found, David, that it's pretty evenly distributed into the 3 profiles across the adult population, right?
That's right, Shelby. Yeah, it's about equal numbers. Perhaps a few more in the middle, the few more diplomats. We need all the diplomats we can get. And but at the extremes, you have a group of you know, maybe 20-25% who are the poets, and another group on the bottom end of the distribution who are the researchers.
Yeah, very interestingly, most people think that they're researchers, and very few think that they're poets. So those people will be wrong.
Some will.
And some have also said in the chat that they took the test and they thought they received a different type of result. If you took the test more than even a month ago in the app, we've been playing a lot with how we present these results to you. So if you took the hypnotizability test in the Reverie app more than a month ago, you probably wouldn't have received one of these profiles, and instead you received it in a different format. So go ahead and take the test again after today's session, and learn which type you are. And wonderful.
I'd say roughly speaking, the higher numbers on the old test, the way we did it, are the poets. The numbers in the middle range are the diplomats, and the numbers in the lower range are the researchers, roughly speaking, just to give you an idea.
And to play off of one of the questions that we saw in the chat, I'm popping another question in here. We thought it would be a really interesting discussion point, since we're all here together talking about hypnotizability and the brain styles. If you do know which type you are already, if you've already taken the test, we want to hear from you in the chat. What is the profile you got, and what kind of career are you in? I wanted to see if there were any similarities. And of course, it's if you're comfortable sharing. But just know that, if you're a stay-at-home parent, that also counts as a career. Don't shy away from sharing your results. So we'll let you all pop your answers in the chat. Of course, most of you have not yet taken the test, and so understandably, it'll just be those who took the test answering here. And thank you all for participating in that. So before we hop into the next section, where you're going to be able to actually demo the hypnotizability test and learn through the lens of an incredible story, some people ask, why even take the test at all? Well, the hypnotizability test is the best way to assess how hypnosis and reverie can help you. It takes less than 10 minutes, and it distills mountains of scientific research into one simple format for you. So not only will you learn how hypnosis can help you and receive personalized guidance from Dr. Spiegel on how to make the most out of hypnosis, you're also going to learn unique aspects about your brain style. In particular, how you think and process information, how you interact with others, and how you make decisions. So yes, it can have impacts in other areas of your life outside of hypnosis, just to learn which style you are. So now we're going to transition into a spotlight on our very, very special guest. So Danny is an incredible living success story of hypnosis. Some of you might know him because he has been in the limelight before. He was Nitro from the American Gladiators. He just put out a Netflix limited series on what that was all about, the American Gladiators back in the 80s and 90s. It was really remarkable. I highly suggest you give it a watch. But he had an incredible transformation with hypnosis when he was just 14 years old. And I never would have guessed that he wasn't naturally athletic based on watching the American Gladiators and seeing him today. So Dan, I don't want to spoil much more. I want to pass you the mic and give you the chance to share a little bit of your story with hypnosis with everyone.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking time out of your busy day to show up for Shelby, Reverie, David, and myself. Very, very kind of you, because I know there's so many things you could be doing with your time. I was this kid who grew up with a lot of trauma. When I was 10 years old, my older brother, who was 12, got into an electrical accident, and he died in my arms. My older brother was my hero, who was my rock. He was, everything to me. And I was so comfortable being in his shadow. So with an Asian mother who wasn't very emotional and a gung-ho Marine father, I, ended up going into this little bit of a shell. I was very reactive to that trauma in my life instead of proactive at 10 years old. So I was in this shell. I'd lost my best friend, my hero, and I didn't know where I fit or how I belonged in the world. My parents wanted me to play sports, to be active, to get out, but I was this kid who ate his grief. I was overweight. I wasn't very athletic. I hadn't been good at anything, but I decided to play football because I liked the padding. I liked the helmet. I figured it was always a good place to hide, you know, behind the helmet and the padding. Uh, I wasn't good, and about my freshman year in high school, I wasn't playing on the team at all. So I just quit halfway through the season. I just said, I'm done. I quit. I don't play. I'm no good, even though I've been doing this for 5 years. My father, at his office that he leased at night, he rented it out to a hypnotherapist. And this was back when, you know, before many of you were born. This is back way back in the days. I don't think Dr. Spiegel was even born then. That's how old I am.
Don't tell him, Danny.
So this was when, you know, hypnosis and, you know, visualization, it wasn't a thing. This was 1977, 1978. And at night, this hypnotherapist rented my dad's office out, and my dad and him became friends. And we were taking a ski trip together, and I decided to ride with this gentleman in a 4-hour ride. And he started to talk to me about the power of the mind. He started to talk to me about the power of visualization, the power of hypnosis. And he started saying things, you can create things in your mind that you see that haven't happened yet, as a way to condition your mind to make those things happen. And as a 14-year-old who had never had success in his life, just these ideas that by calming myself, that by seeing myself be successful, that I could change things in my life. Because until that time, I had no success and no tools besides hard work only, which wasn't paying off for the result that I wanted. So I started doing a few hypnotherapy sessions with Roger, and immediately I noticed there was some deeper connection that was beyond my conscious thought. You know, the conscious thought of, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm afraid. Um, those thoughts weren't there anymore. And I slowly, every day, 5 days a week, I practiced this hypnotherapy. He showed me how to do it back then, before we had, you know, the smartphone, before we had Reverie. You know, I always say Reverie. I remember when Apple revolutionized music. They put 1,000 songs in your pocket. To me, Reverie is those 1,000 songs in your pocket to hypnosis. So back then, we did not have an app where you could just turn it on and put it on. I had to do self-hypnosis on myself, put myself, relax myself, go through a countdown induction. And I was 14 years old, but I was desperate to change my life. I was desperate to get better at something. And I started to do this 5 days a week on my own, 10 or 12 minutes. And I went back and played football that year. And I went from, as a freshman, to quitting the team, to never playing, to my second year in high school, I was the MVP of my team. So the results were that dramatic. The only thing I did differently was the hypnotic therapy of seeing myself being successful before I was successful, and the neurons that wire together fire together. And that particular moment where fate had me meet Roger, the hypnotherapist, and I started the practice, that changed my life. Since then, I've used hypnotherapy in my life, visualization, for the last 40 years. The challenge, you know, sometimes is when you go from sports to career and business. It was just a different modality with different inputs to see myself successful in different ways. And currently, I use the Reverie app. For example, I started playing pickleball. Does anybody else play pickleball? Only Martin Brown raised his hand. Nobody else. So pickleball is a sport. And I wasn't hitting my podiums enough. So this last tournament I went to, in between the matches, I put on the Reverie app. I put my earplugs in, put on the Reverie app for practice better, evaluate your athletic practice. And then we went 7-1 and we got the podium. So there's daily things that I use it for. I'm a writer, I'm a producer, I'm also a speaker. and a coach. So now when you're an entrepreneur, one of the hardest things sometimes is to start, to get yourself to begin. So I use the Reverie procrastination app, and I also use the Reverie for the focus, so I can see what I want to focus on. And then just this morning, I chose to use the Reverie app for the very short 1 minute goals. Set your goals, see your goals. And for me, it's just conditioning the brain. It's like getting reps in at the gym, except for these are reps to condition your brain to get the outcomes that you desire in your life. And again, I love that it's on the phone, that it's easily accessible, and it's shorter. So you can put it anytime in your life.
Thanks, Dan. That was an incredible story. You've got a lot of feedback in the chat too. Lots of support being sent your way, and people are guessing which profile they think you are. So that's fun. Lots of different guesses getting flown out there. And I guess now we're going to see which profile you are. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Spiegel to walk you through the hypnotizability test.
Yes, and I have not taken it, even though I'm highly hypnotizable. I do know this, but I have not taken it. So I'm curious too. I put the poet down. When you're talking, I like this, but I'm also, Dr. Spiegel, I also think I'm a little bit of all three, which I think maybe perhaps a lot of people think. So I'm pretty excited and interested to see what happens.
Well, Danny, it's clear that whatever your style of hypnotizability, you have made fabulous use of it, and it makes me happy to hear how constructively and productively you have used hypnosis in your life. So thank you.
Well, Dr. Spiegel, what I love, and the reason I show up here for this community, is because with your history and your background at Stanford, psychiatric department head, where you have the choice to use so many different modalities, right? You can prescribe, you can do talk therapy, you can do hypnosis, and you have the clinical research behind you. I love the credibility that you and your team bring to hypnosis, with that accredited background. So I feel very, Jake's giving the thumbs up. So I feel very safe here, and I love, again, the credibility you bring to this, because for me, hypnosis was such a life changer, was such a game changer. If I did not have that fateful interaction with Roger, when I was 14 years old, I would not be sitting here today. So that's why I'm happy to be here and be an advocate.
Well, thank you, Danny. That makes me feel very good, and you are living evidence of how well hypnosis can help people live their lives better. And that's why I'm here trying to help as many people as possible to do it. And I see some people like Bonnie there smiling who has done exactly that, and Diego here too. So thank you. So why don't we do the test, and let's find out what you already know, what your degree of hypnotizability is. So get as comfortable as you can.
Can I sit back in my chair, Dr. Spiegel?
Please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I'm sitting back. Got it.
All right.
Can you see me close enough?
It would help if you could slide forward a little bit. Can you do that? Because I want everybody to be able to see your eyes. And if you need, you can put your elbows on your desk if you want, rather than the armrest of the chair, whatever's comfortable. Okay.
Okay, how's that?
Good. Thank you. So please look straight ahead. Now look up to the top of your head, all the way up high as you can. Good. And as you keep looking up, slowly close your eyes. Close, close, all the way. Good. Now take a deep breath. Let the breath out slowly. Let your eyes relax, but keep them closed. Now in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take your left hand and your right hand and float over and stroke the back of your left middle finger. Take your right hand and stroke the back of your left middle finger, starting at the tip of your finger and stroking backwards down toward the back of your hand, over your wrist, and all the way to your elbow. And as you do that, you'll develop a sense of tingling and numbness and lightness. And when you get to your elbow, put your right hand back where it was originally and let your left hand float up in the air like a balloon, all the way up higher and higher. Good. Now, I'm going to give you this instruction. Your left hand will remain light and in this upright position, even after I give you this signal for your eyes to open. Later, if I ask you to use your right hand to put your left hand back down and then let go, it will float right back up to the upright position. You'll find something pleasant and amusing about this sensation. After that, when I ask you to touch your left elbow with your right hand, your usual sensation and control will return. Each time you go into this state of concentration, you'll find it easier and easier to do, and you can use it to help you concentrate on what's important to you. Right now, we'll come out of this state of concentration together by counting backwards from 3 to 1. On 3, you'll get ready. On 2, with your eyelids closed, roll up your eyes, and 1, let your eyes open. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Good. Now stay in this position, please, and describe what physical sensations you're aware of now in your left hand and arm.
Left hand feels a little numb.
Numb? All right.
Now the fingers feel kind of like numb, like cooler, airy, slight tingle towards the tips.
Okay. Is it comfortable?
Yes, very comfortable.
Does your left hand feel as if it's not as much a part of your body as your right hand?
Yes.
Good. Now, I'm going to ask you to take your right hand, pull your left hand back down, and then let go. Can you describe what that feels like?
Feels like it's a lever.
It's a lever. Does that surprise you?
No.
All right. Now, I want you to raise your right hand. Just lift it up, put it down. Are you aware of a relative difference in sensation in your left hand going up compared to your right?
Yes.
Is one arm lighter or heavier than the other?
The right hand is heavier.
Are you aware of a relative difference in your sense of control over one hand going up compared to the other?
Yes, left hand has less control.
Less control. Does that surprise you?
No, you gave me the suggestion.
Got it. Okay. Now, please take your right hand and touch your left elbow. Now let go. Are you aware of a difference in sensation and control now in your left hand and arm as compared with just a moment before?
Yeah, the left hand is a little cooler and tingly in the fingers.
Okay. And how about the control? Is that equal now in the two hands?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, before you had less control in your left hand and arm, now it's the same. Did I do or say anything that would indicate that you'd have a change in sensation and control in your left hand and arm?
Yes.
What was that?
You said that, no, you didn't say that. You said that I'd be able to lift it, not lift it, that it would feel lighter, something like that.
All right. And did I say anything about your elbow or touching your elbow?
Yes.
What was that?
Right hand would go over and touch my elbow, and then when you touch my elbow, the left hand would go down.
Okay. And did you have a sense of floating lightness or buoyancy anytime during the test in your left hand and arm?
Yes.
Did you have that sense in any other part of your body? Head, neck, thighs, abdomen, chest, all over, or just your left hand and arm?
Unclear.
Okay. All right. That's the end of the test. And Danny, you're many things, but one of them is you're a poet. And so you are indeed highly hypnotizable. You're a poet.
Now, is that something that become conditioned over time as well? Like, you know, you jog, then you become, someone's asking for control of my camera. Fabia?
Oh.
Okay, I'll decline that.
Okay.
Okay. Does that, so the
Uh,
question I have, does that with a client or someone, does that change as time progresses? Is it a muscle that you can build up through repetition?
you can use it better, but the studies show that you tend not to change from one type to another. So it's more you get better at how you use it and what you use it for than the basic style of using hypnosis. That tends not to change very much. But your skill, and you're the perfect example of that. Now you are you're a poet anyway, but the ways in which you have learned to use it have expanded tremendously. And so from the athletic sort of model point of view, I'd say it's more, yes, you can build muscle, but you also are enhancing the way you use the muscle and skeletal structure that you have to use it better. And so I would say, and what you as an outstanding athlete do, I think, is come to assess what your strengths and weaknesses are, and make the best of the strengths and do what you can to reduce the weaknesses. And so you know, it's sort of like how you use the body you have, and you can change it to some extent, but you also are working better within the constraints of the kind of body you have. And I would think of it that way in terms of hypnotizability.
Makes sense.
Awesome. A lot of people were following along too.
I noticed.
And you know, someone mentioned that they got the same result as in the app, which is great. You know, it really validates that taking the test in the app is just like taking the test with Dr. Spiegel himself.
Yes, and we've studied that. We've done an actual trial in which we use both the app and personal measurement of hypnotizability, and it corresponds pretty well. That's the interesting thing, is that that ability is something you've got, and when we test it properly, it turns out to be the same every time.
Yes, and so we're slightly over time, so I'm going to keep moving along to the next section. One of the things that I really want to emphasize is that while taking the hypnotizability test is important so that you can receive this guidance from Dr. Spiegel and learn about your brain, the most important measure of your success with hypnosis is how you feel and behave following a hypnosis session. And you know, this is because we're trying to affect change in our life through hypnosis, whether it's eating more healthy or quitting an addiction, quitting smoking, quitting a certain behavior. You know, so many things, improving our sleep. You know, if you do a hypnosis session and you fall asleep, that was a great success. So as a special treat and to really demonstrate all of the full experience all in one, Dr. Spiegel is going to take us all through a live hypnosis session right now, so you can all feel what it feels like. And I'm going to launch a quick poll. We've got 5 different options for you all. We actually want to tailor the session to the majority vote. So please vote in this poll right now. We've got 5 different options for you all on the topic of the session. It can be enhancing focus and problem solving, relieving general stress and anxiety, improving athletic performance, eating more intuitively, or just general well-being. The first 4 are available in the Reverie app, and we do not really have a general well-being one in the app, but that has been requested. And the votes are pouring in. Looks like enhancing focus and problem solving is the most voted one so far, with relieving stress and anxiety as the second most voted. I'll give you all a moment to finish voting. All right, it looks like the result is going to be enhancing focus and problem solving, something that Danny is a great example of, and this is also one of my favorites. So any questions from you, Dr. Spiegel, before we get into this?
No, I'm ready to go.
Awesome. So this is one that everyone can follow along with right here and now, and just pay attention to your own experience.
You know, I would just add, as we get ready to do this exercise now, that one of the nice things about assessing your style of hypnotizability is that you get a very quick experience in how you are learning to uncover and use your own ability. All hypnosis is really self-hypnosis. And what I'm doing is just showing you how to take full advantage of your style of using hypnosis to help yourself. So we'll now do an exercise together about enhancing focus. So get as comfortable as you can. On one, do one thing. Look up, all the way up high as you can. Two, do two things. Slowly close your eyes and take a deep breath. And three, do three things. Let the breath out. Let your eyes relax, but keep them closed. And let your body float. Imagine your body floating as if you were in a bath, a lake, a hot tub, or just floating in space. Each breath deeper and easier. And imagine that you're floating in a bath, a lake, a hot tub, or just floating in space.
David, would you be able to speak up a little bit?
Sorry, yes, sure. Imagine you're floating in a bath, a lake, a hot tub, or just floating in space. Each breath deeper and easier. And now picture in your mind's eye an imaginary screen. Could be a movie screen, a TV screen, or a piece of clear blue sky. And I want you to imagine, as you look at the screen, that there's one particular thing, an animal or a tree or a building or a person, that attracts your attention and that you want to concentrate on more. So feel your body floating and zoom in on that image or person or idea that attracts your attention the most, so that it comes to take up more and more of your visual field as your body is floating and comfortable. And you allow yourself to focus on the implications that come from what it is you're focusing on. Is it a person you want to get to know better? Is it a problem at work? And I want you to picture a path to getting closer to addressing the issue that you want to do something about, so that there are a series of steps that you're taking to immerse yourself more and more in solving the problem in the relationship that you want to develop. But you see it as one coherent pathway toward addressing and solving the challenge that you're facing. It leaves you feeling more and more connected because you're finding the process of exploring and addressing the question more and more absorbing. Body safe and comfortable. So you're picturing a series of steps that move you along and move you closer toward expanding your understanding of the problem and planning ways to deal with it. It becomes a challenge, a puzzle you can solve, and you feel better and better as you experience yourself taking steps toward understanding, addressing, and doing something about the issue you're focusing on. Notice also how you can enjoy feeling this synchronization between your brain and your body. Your body in this attentive but relaxed state helps you focus clearly, intently, and without distraction. Now take a moment to reflect on what you've learned doing this exercise. Because the best way to focus is to involve preparation, practice, and reflection. You prepare to focus on the issue you want to address. You get your body ready to support you by being alert but relaxed. You explore what you're focusing on. And then at the end, you take stock of what you've learned and where you want to go from there. And that period of consolidation is very important. It helps you store and retrieve the new thing that you have learned to help you move ahead again. Now take a few moments to reflect on what this means to you in a private sense, and then when you're ready, bring yourself out of the state of self-hypnosis by counting backwards from 3 to 1. On 3, you'll get ready. On 2, with your eyelids closed, roll up your eyes. 1, let your eyes open. If you still have your hand up, make a fist, open it, let your hand float back down, feel normal. And that'll be the end of the exercise. Ready? 3, 2, 1. You know, Danny and Shelby and everybody, I love these moments after the hypnosis exercise like this, because there's a kind of peaceful silence that everybody seems to be engaged in, and it's a lovely, quiet, reflective moment. How are we doing? Everybody back with us here? Anybody still floating in the air?
If anyone wants to unmute themselves, in particular, if you had a question or an issue with what we just went through, now's a great time to raise it to Dr. Spiegel.
Did you do the hand raise in that and I just missed it?
You know, I may not have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought I missed the hand raise. I was like, you put your hand down. I was like, my hand's not down. I mean, it's already down.
Not up. It's already down. Yeah, I wondered about that at the end.
Dr. Spiegel.
Yes.
Question for you. What would you say, because I get many people ask me this too, is what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis?
It's a common question. Meditation, and many of you may be meditators. It's an Eastern tradition. I'm sorry. It's an Eastern tradition, and the purpose of it is somewhat different. Meditation is a way of being, and so the practice is more extensive than what we do with hypnosis, in that it's recommended that you practice for half an hour once or twice a day. And the idea is to just get over yourself, to just be open yourself to letting thoughts and feelings flow through you, like watching a storm go by, open presence, to develop compassion, which is a good thing to do for all of us. And sometimes a body scan to check out how your body's doing. But the purpose is not to solve a problem. Whereas hypnosis is more Western, it's problem focused. And so the idea in hypnosis is that you use it to help yourself focus on a problem, to control pain, to get to sleep better, to stop smoking. We tend to be more problem oriented, and that's what hypnosis is about. And different things happen in the brain as well. That in the brain, in hypnosis, you reduce activity in what we call the salience network. It's a part of the brain that alerts you if there's a problem, and you turn that down so you can allow yourself to focus. Whereas with meditation, you turn down activity in the back of the brain, what we call the default mode network, where you're defining who you are. Now that happens in a briefer way in hypnosis, but experienced meditators learn to do that much of the time. So they're related, but they're not the same.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's awesome. And I just wanted to say, Shelby, thank you for everything. Dan, thank you for sharing your story. Just truly inspiring. And I had one more question. Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the time here.
I'm so sorry. We have to keep the questions just related to the hypnosis that we just went through, and everything else we will answer directly afterwards.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Thank you, Shelby.
We're super short on time right now. So for those that do have their hands raised, is your question related to the hypnosis that we just did? Okay, let's hear them quickly. First, Sabrina, can you unmute yourself?
Hi there, I'm Sabrina, coming in from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And so, you know, first David sort of just said, imagine something, anything, you know, without any kind of guidance to like solving any problem, whatever. And so came to mind dolphins. So I love dolphins, and all of a sudden there was dolphins, and I was sort of drifting because we were drifting in water. So I was sort of in an ocean, and then there was a dolphin, then there were many dolphins, and then there were dolphin families, which I've experienced, you know, the mommies and babies kind of jumping out. And then he sort of started to relate it like to a problem, which I didn't start out thinking of any kind of a problem, and or a solution, I should say, a solution to something that exists in our life. And so one of my dilemmas right now is my relationship with my 26-year-old daughter. And we have been very estranged for a couple of years now. And so all of a sudden, I just kind of imagined her as now growing up, a full-size dolphin, and just swimming away and living in another part of the ocean. We're still in the same ocean. She's just off with another group of dolphins. And it was sort of like very, you know, what I find, I actually practice hypnotherapy. So it's that feeling that, not the logic part, because the logic part says, okay, let go, let go, let go. But it's the feeling thing that happens in hypnosis that always amazes me. It's that feeling of letting go and understanding. So thank you very much, all of you, for doing this for us.
Thank you for that, Sabrina. It's a beautiful story. And you are expressing the feeling of, in a sense, freeing her and seeing her doing what she normally needs to do and having it visually. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, Musafar, can you ask your question in like 30 seconds or less?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Spiegel and everyone else for your help. My question has got to do with how much effort to apply while imagining things. A lot of times when I'm using your app, or even when I'm listening to you, sometimes I get so relaxed that I just can't follow instructions, and then I kind of like come back and I'm like, oh, he's asking me to do this. I was supposed to be doing this, and you know, I'm too relaxed, and then I'm thinking, oh, I've got to be solving this problem. But hey, let me pick a problem real quick, and then you know you've moved on. So how does, I guess I'm trying to do your exercises better. How do you suggest someone like me manages to get better at doing these exercises?
Well, I think it's fine if you have a goal you want to work on, but there's nothing terrible about just being intensely relaxed for a brief period too. And the fact that you can head off trying to solve a problem and do it from a physical and psychological setting of feeling relaxed is actually a good thing, that you're able to do both at once. And that is one of the advantages of hypnosis. So don't be too hard on yourself about that. It's probably a good thing.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind next time I'm losing. It helps when you say it. Thank you very much for your time,
You're welcome.
Doctor.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Lynn, and then we'll move on.
Hi, thanks. The last exercise, my left hand, right? I've done a lot of the practice on the Reverie app, and this is the first time that the left hand was raised, and I realized, like Danny had asked, did you actually go through that part of the cueing? And so I'm curious, Dr. Spiegel, what happened there?
I just with the pressure of time, I just thought we want to get right to the focus issue. It's not necessary to do it. It's a standard part of it, and you associated with it and you did it, and that's fine. And I did want to make sure that if people like you had raised their hands, that they felt comfortable lowering them at the end. But there's no one sacred way to do it. And so this is your exercise. You can use it the way you want to. And you can use it with your hand, particularly early on. The hand is a useful signal that something's really happening here.
But the weird part was that it was up before I was conscious that it was up, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, that's something happened there. That was
Well,
neat.
sure. That's what it's about, is that, and you had associated from your other experience with hypnosis, and that's a great thing. So for you, that association kicked in and you did it. That's very interesting, and that's your style of doing it. And I love the element of surprise when you see it happening. You say, my goodness, look at this. That's a signal to yourself that you're there. And that's why I usually do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Dr. Spiegel. So we promised everyone that we would provide a wealth of information about the different brain styles and what they all mean. You did go into them a bit more in the beginning, Dr. Spiegel, but is there anything else that you would like to elaborate on?
Well, I just say that the different styles are sort of different ways of your using the hypnotic experience. And for some people, like the poets, you're just in it. And you just immerse yourself in it and can quickly shift gears and use it to focus in that way. For the diplomats, it's a shift back and forth between the hypnotic intensity and your reflection about it and what it means. And that's good too. It's good to have that combination of two things. And for the researchers, they're people who tend to lead with their thought and analysis, but then analyze what they've done and make a decision about what to do. So it's always, hypnosis is a balance between your ability to shift and intensify your focus, but also your ability to reflect. And if you can do them together in the context of physical comfort and a very rapid way of shifting gears and focusing on a problem, and then summing up what you've learned from it, as you all did here, that's what hypnosis is about. So it's not do you use it, it's how you use it.
Thank you. Very concise summary. And so we're going to send out a follow-up email to everyone after today's session. So within the next hour or so, I'm going to do my best to get the recording of today's session out to everyone who registered, as well as lots of relevant links. There's a lot of questions in the chat, and so we're going to have to take some time to go through all of those and get them answered, but we're going to direct you to where those answers are going to be posted in our community clubhouse. And of course, we're going to provide you links to download Reverie if you don't have it yet, show you where to take the test in the app, remembering that the test that you take in the app is just like the test with Dr. Spiegel himself. Make sure that you pay close attention to the guidance from Dr. Spiegel following the test. That guidance is tailored to your unique brain style and your hypnotizability. So that's how you can get the most out of hypnosis. And it's also how you can make the most of your life outside of hypnosis. We are at the last minute, and I just want to make sure that I give our special guest, Danny Clark, one additional moment to impart any words of wisdom as a living success story of hypnosis.
Here's the thing I've learned about hypnosis. It's a tool, for me, that's never been a one and done. It's like any other tool that you have in your toolkit for self-improvement. It's the repetitions that count. Reverie has made his induction, with the eyes up, very short and quick. So it's one of those things where the tool is there for you. The amount of time that it takes isn't long, but no one can make you do it. You have to want the change enough to take that 5, 10, 12 minutes. And again, as someone who's been doing it for 35 years, including meditation, I meditate as well. It's been transformative. It's a great tool for most people, but again, repetition, repetition, repetition. I use the Reverie app, 5 to 10 times a week for different things. And I find that if I'm having problems sleeping, I do it in the morning to program myself already for the night. Once I conquer that, I'll move on to the next thing if it's focused. Like if I'm procrastinating on a new movie I'm writing, I'll say, okay, today, before I get to writing, I know I'm procrastinating. Let me just hit that 5 minutes so I can go and see. And I also like the breathing as just a general calming. He's got a couple new breathing things there. So, you know, the gift is there. It's at your fingertips. The question is, will you take advantage of this opportunity to help transform yourself and, you know, be what you want to be? I find that if people just do what they say they're going to do, their life transforms in immeasurable ways. So this is something you're interested in, please take the steps and do it. I think it's transformative.
Powerful.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your experience and wisdom with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for making the time. This was wonderful. This was awesome to have all of you guys here. Dr. Spiegel, of course, always a pleasure. We're getting a lot of really positive feedback in the chat about both of you. Danny, your story is so inspirational. I really hope that everybody got some inspiration from this, and we're going to circulate the link to your full story that they can read later on, as well as this recording. So thanks again, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stan, thanks, Dr. Shu.
Thank you, Dan.
Oh, it's great.
Thank you, everybody.